to you take just a couple of more minutes so that we can start. Dahin and Paola will start letting the community members in so that we can start shortly. Wonderful. Looks like people are still joining, but for the sake of time, we are going to go ahead and start. I will pass it to Daniel Tilius to do a brief introduction and explain to people how they can use the interpretation function. Et nous allons commencer Kounia, mais nous allons passer by Monsieur Daniel Tilius pour capable expliquer nous qui gens pour nous capable utiliser fonction interprétation. Daniel Tilius, to you.
Yes, we hear you.
Daniel, we are getting messages saying that they cannot hear you. Can you, Daniel, can you switch to English so that you can let folks know how to switch from the original language? We want to make sure that people are able to hear the interpretation as well. Si que ou sou ligne nan ou pa katande, wap ale nan globe la pour capable checker côté qui dit pour choisir interprétation. Et dans interprétation, wap choisi langue créole pour capable tendre ça Daniel a dit. Alors encore une fois, ou pour aller dans globe là, wap cliquer côté qui marqué mol pour capable joindre langue créole haïtien pour capable participer tant de ça Daniel a dit. Ou bien tout, si que c'est anglais seulement, Ou prend option originale. Okay, Daniel, back to you. Daniel Till, yes. Okay, Danielle, they're saying they can hear now. So let's go ahead and move on because of sake of time. We want to make sure we get as much information as possible. Danielle, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. Thank you so much, everyone, and welcome to this very important community town hall, virtual community town hall and webinar. My name is Gerlin Joseph. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, Pont Alliance Haitienne. And today we wanted to really bring in people who are working on immigration to really give you the information that is needed. We understand that there are a lot of misinformation that is going around our communities regarding all aspects of immigration, including the CHNV parole program for Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And we understand there's a lot of rumor and misinformation going around the family reunification program, asylum, visas, and a lot of other issues that people within the communities that we serve are going through. So it is an honor for us to have the esteemed, part of the esteemed team that works with DHS that will be able to give you updates on what's happening on the various issues that we deal with. And they will also be able to answer some of the questions you have submitted. I say some because we have received hundreds of questions. And because of the amount of time that we have, not all of the questions will be answered tonight, but they have agreed to send us updated information and answers to some of the questions we will not be able to answer for you tonight. Again, if you just joined, we want to welcome you and we say thank you for joining us. I am going to go quickly introduce our guests who are here with us today. And I can just go from Royce to Daniel to Catherine, and each one of you can briefly introduce yourselves and let the community know which part of the issues you are working on, and then we can go ahead, give some updates. Daniel, please let us know if we are speaking too fast, too loud, too low, so we make sure that the information is getting to the communities. And again, we want to make sure people understand that Haitian Creole interpretation is being provided tonight, but we'll also do our best to get some Spanish translation so that all the community members from Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua can get the proper information that they need. And right now, I would like to introduce Royce Murray. Royce, please go ahead, introduce yourself and let our community members know who you are and what is your position and what type of issues you are working on within the Department of Homeland Security.
Sure, and thank you very much, Gerlaine, for inviting me to join you all today. My name is Royce Murray. I'm the Senior Counselor to Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, Alejandro Mayorkas, and I work on his immigration portfolio. So that covers a wide range of issues, of course, including the ones we'll be talking about today, related to work permits, parole processes, CBP-1, TPS, all the many issues that I know are very important to the Haitian community. So happy to be here today. Thanks.
Daniel Delgado.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for the invitation to speak with you all today, Gerlaine. My name is Daniel Delgado. I am the Director for Border and Immigration Policy here at the Department of Homeland Security. I cover similar issues as Royce mentioned, including parole, as well as other immigration benefits and policies for the department, in addition to border security and enforcement measures as well.
Thank you so much for joining us, Daniel. And Catherine Anderson.
Hello, thank you. Yes, I'm Catherine Anderson. I'm the Deputy Chief of our Office of Policy and Strategy at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So as you have heard from Daniel and Royce, we are here because we work on these issues that you have questions about. Our office works on policy issues, all the policy issues that USCIS covers. So it can be humanitarian-based immigration benefits, as well as employment-based, family-based immigration policies, really the whole spectrum of USCIS's work.
Thank you so much. Again, I just want to remind folks that this is a community town hall that is geared toward giving the proper information and answer some questions for the community. It is closed press. If you have some very specific media requests, please email us at info@haitianbridge.org and we can follow up with you. Wanted to make sure that we are able to share openly with the community. And again, this is a closed press. If you're a member of the press, please know that this is a community event, and we want to clarify that. Thank you so much again, everyone, for joining. Again, my name is Gerlaine Joseph. For those who are just joining, I am the co-founder and executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, the Black Immigrants Bail Fund, and the Cameroon Advocacy Network. As we say here at the Haitian Bridge Alliance, we went to the border for the Haitians, but we stayed for everyone. That is in that spirit that we want to make sure all the communities who are impacted are able to get this information, and we will translate the material into Spanish and other languages for our different community members. Why don't we just go ahead and give it back to Royce to give us some updates on different issues, different programs. What is going on right now? What's happening with immigration?
Well, there is certainly no shortage of things going on with immigration. I think what we would love to open with today are two things. One, an effort that we have underway to get information out to the Haitian community, among other recent arrivals from the Southwest border. And then I know Daniel would like to share some data that people may find helpful to understand some of the progress we've made on the different processes that you all have questions about. So just quickly, I do want to note that we have been, over the last week, when I say we, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, has been pushing out notifications to individuals who may be eligible to apply for a work permit and haven't yet done so. We want to make sure that folks understand who is eligible to apply for a work permit and how to do so. And so we have been sending emails and SMS text messages where we have cell phone numbers to people who have arrived through the CHNV, the Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan parole processes, as well as through the CBP-1 app, if they were paroled in following a CBP-1 appointment, and also people who have applied for asylum with USCIS. We have done that in English, Haitian Creole, and Spanish. Some of these messages went out the end of last week, some have gone out today. It's not an invitation to apply. There's no formality. It's simply just information. It's available on our website as well. But we just wanted to make sure that if people are eligible to apply for a work permit, they know how to do so. They know where to go to on the USCIS webpage to have any of their questions answered. So don't be surprised if you or your friends or family members have gotten either emails or text messages or both. We just want to make sure that people are aware of this. Please share that information widely. We want to make sure that, again, people who have been paroled into the United States for a period of time long enough to get a work permit, or people whose asylum applications have been pending for 150 days, and all this information is on the website and is also in those emails, that they can apply for a work permit. So hopefully you'll see that. Hopefully it's helpful. And we can also share with Haitian Bridge Alliance to help disseminate some flyers that we are developing. We have them in English and Spanish. We will shortly have it in Haitian Creole as well, that have this exact same information that we just want to make sure reaches as many people as possible. So that's something I want to note at the top. But in the interest of time, I'll pass it over to Daniel to share some information about the success of the processes we're going to be talking about today. Daniel?
Thanks so much, Royce. So as I'm sure folks are aware, of course, since January, we have been implementing the parole processes for all Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. And since then, we really have continued to see a great demand and great success in those parole processes. So each month, we are still authorizing up to 30,000 CHNB nationals, again, across all 4 nationalities, authorization to travel to the United States under this process. And we continue to see Haitians specifically participating in this process at a significant rate. And so through the end of August, total CHNB nationals, more than 209,000 individuals have successfully arrived through this process, which is a really tremendous number of individuals having the ability to fly into the United States through a lawful pathway, as opposed to taking a regular journey to the southwest border and other means. Specifically for the Haitian community, we have seen more than 71,000 Haitians arrive through this program since its launch in January. So again, really tremendous success and demand in this process that we've seen since January. And I apologize, my dog has entered with the loudest toy he could find, so apologize for the background noise. Further, we continue to implement CBP-1 appointments at the southwest border, which do include a number of different, sorry, give me 1 minute and let me get my dog out of the room, 1 minute.
The beauty of Zoom and the aftermath of COVID, we all know that this is what we are dealing with. So, but you then also this kind of brings lightness to all those things that we are talking about. Go ahead, Daniel.
Absolutely, sorry about that. And in addition to the CHNB parole processes, as you all are tracking, we have also expanded access to the CBP-1 application for individuals to register for a time to schedule and present at a port of entry across 8 ports of entry on the southwest border. And we have continually expanded that access and the number of daily appointments as processing and resources allow. Since the lifting of Title 42, on May 12th, we have expanded that exponentially to the number of individuals that we can offer appointments to each day, and are currently offering 1,450 daily appointments for individuals of all nationalities to take advantage and use this app that is, of course, free to download and available on mobile devices. Since the inception of this app and the implementation of that scheduling function in January, we have seen nearly 50,000 Haitians through this week, actually, being able to successfully use the app and schedule an appointment through CBP1 to present at a port of entry across the southwest border. And further, we continue to make additional updates and efficiencies to the app. Just on August 9th, we transitioned to an expanded scheduling appointment capability from 14 days to 21 days, which allows individuals more time in advance to schedule a time to present at a port of entry, giving them just a few more days to get everything in order before they present at the southwest border. And with that, I'll turn it over to Catherine for a few more updates.
Sure, thanks. I just wanted to speak briefly before we get into questions about HFRP, which is the Haitian Family Reunification Parole Process. This, is a longstanding program that the DHS has had that we have recently updated and modernized the process for. We also had not issued invitations for many years, and so we have recently started to issue invitations for HFRP again. So this process is for Haitians who are beneficiaries on an approved I-130. So a family-based visa petition has already been approved for them. That's the pool of individuals who would be eligible potentially under this HFRP process. And previously, this process did require kind of an in-person interview in Haiti. And one of the things that we have done to modernize and streamline this process is to remove that interview piece. So that will give us, I think, significantly more efficiencies in moving these applications through much faster. We sent out the first round of invitations under this modernized HFRP process to Haitians on August 21st. So many people should have already received invitations. We sent out around slightly over 5,700 invitations to Haitians that week of August 21st. And generally, that group of invitees are Haitians who, again, have approved I-130s and who we believe will likely have their visas become available in the next 5 years. So that's generally the group that we've currently sent out invitations to. We'll be looking to see, how processing goes, how many people who actually received invitations end up applying for the process, and just kind of monitoring all that as we assess, when we may send out more invitations in the future. That's where we are right now on HFRP. I did want to note as well that we have a national engagement. USCIS is holding a national engagement for all of the family reunification parole processes. So it won't be specific to Haiti, but Haiti will be covered on Friday, the 8th. So I'll have to check to see if that invitation has gone out. I hope that it has at this point, but please, if you need more information, I'll make sure you get it. There will be a national engagement on Friday. So we'll try to answer as many questions as we can here. But if you have more questions on the family reunification parole, we can address those on Friday as well.
Thank you so much for the updates. I will give it back to Royce to see. I know that, again, there's so much we need to talk about, and there are a lot of questions that we will answer. But because we've moved into the Q&A part, is there anything else that you would like to highlight for the community? I know there's a lot of people asking about asylum, visas, and different things like that. Before we get into specific questions, are there any updates that the general, the community can get?
I think that we've probably covered our best and biggest updates at this time. And, I do want to make sure that we get as many questions answered as possible. So happy for us to dive right in.
Wonderful. We have a couple of live questions that are very much connected to what you just mentioned. We can start with those and then go into the pre-submitted questions. And thank you so much for submitting those questions, everyone. We have one question from Catholic Legal Services in Miami. They are saying that we have encountered some difficulty with Social Security admin. Some offices will not honor the passport stamp, but want an actual I-94. That's on the Social Security administration part. We have encountered some difficulty with Social Security. Some offices will not honor the passport stamp. That's for people who have entered through the CHNVV program, but they are asking folks to have an actual I-94. If you don't have an answer to that, we can table it, and I know you will follow up.
Yeah, I think we'd be happy to talk with Catholic Legal Services, offline to make sure that we understand the question. I would think that people should be getting an electronic I-94 that can be printed out with the information that's needed. But I know Catholic Legal Services is very savvy and would probably know that too. And so if there's more to this question, maybe we can connect offline and see what we can to make sure we better understand the question.
Thank you so much. Then we will go ahead and try to answer as many questions as possible. Again, if you have submitted a question and we are unable to answer it today, we will be following up with you to see if we can get those answers for you after the webinar. One question is about EAD. What is EAD? If one of you can explain what that is before we go into the actual questions.
I'm happy to. That'll be my easiest question of the evening. I hope an EAD is an employment authorization document, so also known as a work permit, and it is documentation that shows that you are eligible to work. So while parolees, for example, are eligible to work, they need to apply for an EAD in order to have a document that shows that they are eligible to work. So that's what they're interchangeable, EAD and work permit.
Thank you so much. One of the first questions we have is that, are there different processing time for EAD, depending on whether the applicant entered through through CBP1 via the Mexico border, they received an NTA, which is notice to appear, or they came from the CHNV visa, for the parole program Biden, or they have filed for TPS.
Good question.
Or they have filed for asylum. So 4 parts. If they entered through CBP1 at the border and they received an NTA, if they came through the CHNV parole program, those who have filed a TPS application, and those who have filed an asylum.
I'm happy to jump in on that one. So that's a great question. And one of the things that I think will help understand this is that there are different reasons why you can be authorized to work. And so we call that kind of the basis for your EAD or your work authorization. So if you're a parolee, you're eligible to apply. If you have TPS, you're eligible to apply, and same for asylum. But for USCIS, they're a little bit different work streams, because the basis and the reason for which you might be eligible for employment authorization is different. So we do have slightly different processes that people have to undergo in order to get work authorization, depending on your underlying status. So there are some different processing times that you can expect depending on the reason and your underlying immigration status that makes you eligible. So you can find on our USCIS website our very general processing times for these different categories. I'll share them, but I will caveat that these are general times. And so specific cases certainly can fall outside of this. They can be faster or slower. So for work authorization based on parole, so that would be your CBP1 based filers, as well as the CHNV parole process filers, our processing time is about 4 months for those who apply for an EAD. Again, that's across the board. The information that we have about somebody and the information that is in our system can make a really big difference about how quickly we can process those. So I will just say informally, those who come in through the CHNV parole process, because we have more information about them in some ways in the USCIS system, sometimes those EADs can go faster than maybe the CBP1 applications. We're working on that. We're trying to get all of them to a more efficient and faster place, but sometimes you may see some differences there. For TPS, they're a little bit faster. We're averaging about 2.5 months for EADs based on TPS. And then for those with pending asylum applications, those are the fastest. They're somewhere in the 2-month range. The other thing I would just note here is that you can apply for work authorization and your EAD online with USCIS. It's not required. You can file by paper, but it can save at least a few days and things can move a little bit faster if you do apply online.
Thank you so much for that. Another EAD question is under President Bush and Obama, DHS provided EADs at the district office on an urgent basis. Can that be reinstated?
Yeah, that's another good question. I mean, we can look at that and we'll have to take that back and explore. But the one challenge I see here is that I think over time, the printing process for the actual physical EAD card has gotten more sophisticated. And there are a lot of anti-fraud, measures built into the card itself. And so we print them at a centralized location. So I think as with the passage of time and as technology has changed, it might be difficult for us to return to a practice of being able to print those at every local office, just because of the technology and printers needed to make the cards to the quality that we produce them right now. But appreciate the thought, and we can definitely kind of consider if there's any flexibility we can provide there.
Thank you so much for that. Another one related to that is what should be used to apply for the EAD for someone who entered the US using in I-94 while they had a pending green card application. So does that make sense to you?
I'm not sure. They entered on an I-94, I-134?
They entered through the CHNV visa while they had a pending green card application.
So you're asking kind of what category the person should apply under, whether it's a pending...
They're asking what should be used, what should they do?
Okay. Well, let me just pull this apart a little bit. I mean, if someone entered on the I-134 through the CHNV process, they would be a parolee. So they could apply using the Form I-765, which is the standard, application process to request an EAD. If they came through the CHNV process, they would generally be a parolee. And so that would be the basis that they would use to apply for the EAD. So again, you can apply online or you can apply by paper, but it would be the typical Form I-765, which is our EAD application, and they would generally, I would think, apply as a parolee. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Just to tie that one into the next section of question regarding the CHNV visa program itself. The question is, what should people do if they enter through the CHNV visa parole program while they also have a pending green card application?
I guess without giving like specific case information, I think we'd really have to kind of understand more of the specifics of the case. I mean, regardless of the basis for their their employment application, they still need to file the 765, I believe. So there may be a question as to what category they would want to check. But again, I would think we would need to understand the person's specific information. And I don't know that I can give that advice here. I'm sorry.
We can ask for folks to send more information and we can definitely take a look at those. Now we are moving into some CHNV related questions for the sake of time. And again, I know we received a lot of questions. We are not going to be able to answer all of them, but we will definitely follow up with you. We will work with our dear folks here from DHS to be able to answer as many questions as we possibly can. So we have this question over and over. People have applied since January and have not received a response from USCIS. The question is, what is the situation of people who have applied for the Biden program, which is what the Haitian community calls it, which is the CHNV program since January, and have not received a response from USCIS?
Sure, I can take that one as well. So first of all, I hope that people have at least received a receipt notice. So I'm going to assume that the question relates to just somebody who hasn't received a decision on their case or the ability to move forward. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right. So hopefully people have at least gotten acknowledgement that we received their application. So yeah, so I think you're all probably very aware that the process is limited in the number of travel authorizations that we can issue per month, and it's up to 30,000 travel authorizations that can be issued per month under this process, and that's for all 4 nationalities. So I, again, don't think it's a secret that we have more interest than slots available under the contours of the process. So there are applications that remain pending. I would, one, just let you know that it's not cause for concern. The application is very likely still pending with us. So please don't take that as a sign that, that we haven't received your application. We are working to get as close as possible every month to that 30,000 limit. So trying to process as many applications as possible under the legal terms of the process. I did want to let you know that we are processing many of the pending applications in the order that they came in. So we will eventually get to your application if it is pending with us. But in May, we did also introduce another new element that is randomly selecting about half of that monthly total of pending cases, regardless of the date that they were filed, and working those. So we did that to make sure that, even if you weren't somebody who was able to file right at the very beginning of the process being introduced, there is still an opportunity for everybody who has their case pending to be selected at random on any given month and have their case adjudicated and get a decision on it. So the idea is really to try to maintain, the most meaningful and equitable process as possible, given the significant interest that we've had in this process, to make sure that everybody has a chance at some point to move forward. So again, if you're in the queue, we will work those cases in the order that they came in, but that there is also an opportunity every month to be randomly selected as well.
Just to go over, yes, please go ahead, Daniel.
If I could just add on quickly to Catherine's point too, as USCIS is working through that queue, folks should not reapply and submit additional applications on that front. In essence, that will only add to the queue, right, and add to the processing times there. So as folks are working on USCIS to process as many as we possibly can within that limit, folks applying for the process should not reapply to submit in hopes that they would be processed quicker.
Daniel, can you please repeat that a little bit louder for us? Because the misconception within the community, Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Haiti, all of the 4, we are dealing with the same issues within all 4 communities, is the rumor is you should reapply, and when you reapply, they will answer you faster. Can you go over that piece, please?
Yeah, sure thing. That is absolutely a false rumor. Folks should absolutely not reapply if they have submitted the application already. As Catherine had noted, there is a high demand, and it's no secret that there's a stronger demand than what we can process in a month, given the 30,000 limit per month that we have across all 4 nationalities. However, applying again or submitting multiple applications does not increase your chances of being processed more quickly or more expediently. So I would say, of course, ask for patience as we are making through, but as Catherine had mentioned, we have implemented a couple different efficiencies that are allowing greater efficiency and equality in the processing based on how long somebody has been waiting, but also given that there is this randomizer that is in place to allow additional folks to be selected each month.
Thank you so for that. And to go along the same line, we are having a lot of comments on that specific issue. We are seeing people who have applied in January, February, March, and they haven't been able to receive an answer or receive their travel documents. And they are seeing people who have applied in July, August already receiving. So that has created some major issues within the community. And they are asking to proceed with the first come, first serve, so that they at least know that they feel like it will be more fair and equitable if it was people who applied in January get through without skipping the line, what they are calling it. Can you quickly touch on that and what that will look like? Because it has created a lot of issues within all 4 communities when it comes to people who's been waiting for 3-4 months, and then somebody who just applied gets ahead of the line.
Yeah, no, thank you for that perspective. And I think we certainly understand that feeling and that concern. I mean, as I was saying, I think we really tried to draw the balance as best we could to give in the most fair and equitable way. So certainly one way to look at it would be, absolutely wholly first come, first serve. But at the same time, we did want to make sure that just because somebody maybe didn't know about this program on day one, they were forever disadvantaged, right? So we did try to create this balance. And so, we want to make sure that everybody knows that there is still a, first in, first out queue. That's half of the cases. So somebody who did file early, will make it through that process at some point, and we will adjudicate their case. But, we did introduce this kind of random feature as well several months ago, because we did just want to make sure that we were, giving an opportunity to everybody, even if they weren't, able to get a supporter to support them right off the bat, for example. I know it took some longer than others if you didn't have kind of connections in the United States immediately. So.
Thank you so much for that. And again, we have a lot of questions. We are going to move along, but we have 2 very questions people are asking over and over that we need to get on the CHNV program specifically. It is regarding a minor child. Give me 1 second so I can find that. What to do with an application where the sponsor cannot check the child's I-134. Is there, as there is a yellow dash in front of the name and keep displaying unavailable?
This sounds, we were looking at this question and trying to figure out an answer. I think it probably is a fairly specific question. It sounds, given kind of the yellow dash, it sounds like a data entry issue. If this case is still pending, I think the supporter, so the person who filed the I-134A, could log in and maybe make any corrections to the name, the date of birth, or the passport number. It sounds like maybe some information was potentially entered incorrectly. So I would try that. And if that doesn't work, then maybe contact us directly and we can try to resolve it.
That sounds good. Okay. A couple questions on this bill. We'll move into next questions. So here is, for example, someone who has made a mistake. How do they correct that?
So is this somebody?
So can someone who got approved, for example, on August 9th or August 10th, ask for correction on a mistake made on their passport, adding the number to it? Can they use a previous passport number instead of the new one? So for example, specifically in Haiti, people who have passports who has been expired, they get a new one, a new passport. And if you remember, there were some discrepancies between the numbers. So they're asking what to do in that case. So do they continue with the new number they have for the new passport, or can they use the old expired passport number?
Yes, good question. They do need to use their updated number. It will cause problems when they try to travel if the travel authorization that they were given doesn't match their passport. So we want to get that corrected before they actually try to come to the United States. I'm going to quickly walk through what that process is, but I will note that a lot of these very specific questions that are being asked are addressed on the USCIS website in our FAQs. And this is one of them. So I will go through this, but it is kind of technical. So please look on our website under the CHNV parole process, because you'll find this answer there under our frequently asked questions. But if you've already received a confirmed I-134A and the passport number is now incorrect, you can make this fix through your online account. So in your online account, the MyUSCIS account, you would need to upload a copy of the new valid unexpired passport. This is in the unsolicited evidence in the notices tab. And then you should also, from your account, send USCIS a message from your inbox indicating that you have submitted evidence to correct the passport information. You should get a response from us in your inbox, and you should not proceed to the next stage in the process. So if you've not already submitted your attestations in the account, please don't move forward through the process until we've responded to you to let you know that we've updated your passport information. But it is important to fix it.
Thank you so much. So we are going to pivot into the next session, but before we do that, we have a critical question. Let me see. How does the court, the CHNV trial or lawsuit from the 21 states could impact or affect applications that have already been submitted and applications that could be submitted in the future?
No, another great question, and one that unfortunately we're not in a position to be able to comment on, given that it's active litigation, and I think we just don't know the answer to that.
And what I did, I'll just add, because I just answered this question in the Q&A. No, it was same, Catherine, that I think we're going to have to wait and see what the court decision says about pending applications and how we treat them. So we don't have any more information to share at this time.
Thank you so much for that. Again, if you just joined, you are with the Haitian Media Alliance, and we are grateful to have our amazing guests from the Department of Homeland Security. These are the people who are working very closely and directly in all immigration matters. And we have Royce Murray, we have Catherine Anderson and Daniel Delgado, who are giving us information directly, again, I repeat, directly from members of the Department of Homeland Security, who are the people working on immigration within the US government. So the goal of this webinar, of this community outreach, is to make sure that we get the right information from the right authority to the community in order to combat and fight against the misinformation, the false information, and many times, unfortunately, scams that are going throughout all the communities when it comes to immigration matters. So thank you so much for joining us. And we want to also highlight that we will not be able to answer all of your questions, but we will be able to get answers for you and send an email to folks who have asked those questions. We have a quick a question from our partner in Massachusetts, a very quick one, asking, can you talk about the medical appointments needed to do in Haiti? So if that is something you can quickly touch on before we move into the next session. But thank you so much, Dr. Gabo, as IFC, for the question.
Yeah, let me just briefly take that one. So I think that that is something that is specific to the Haitian family reunification parole process. There are no medical appointments required in Haiti for the CHNV parole process or CBP1, for example. So it's specific to the family reunification process. And it does need to be completed with a panel physician, and it needs to be completed, prior to the application being able to be fully approved. So the supporter, the U.S. The person in the U.S., right, who is the petitioner on the I-130, starts the HFRP process by applying with the I-134A. The medical does not need to be done at that point, but once the I-134A has been confirmed, the beneficiary then will be contacted with next steps. One of those next steps is that there's a requirement to complete the medical exam before moving on to receive the travel authorization.
Thank you for that. Another question is, a lot of people are being charged for the program, being promised different things. They are asking, where do they report fraudulent claims vis-a-vis the CHNV parole program?
Yep. And thank you for being willing to report, abuses of the process when you see it. The best thing that I would advise, at least from the USCIS standpoint, is if you suspect fraud and wish to report it, USCIS does have a fraud reporting tip form. I can put the web address in the chat, but it is uscis.gov report-fraud/USCIS -tip-form. So I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you so much on that. We are going to try to move forward. We are at 6:59 and we still have a lot of questions. So quickly on CBP1, for those who do not know, CBP1, maybe one of you can better describe what CBP1, Danielle, anyone can tell people what is CBP1 for those who do not know.
I sure thing. So CBP1 is a mobile application that is available on any mobile device that individuals can download directly to their phone for free. Just as we're talking about scams and fraud, there is no fee associated with the CBP1 app. And this app allows individuals to choose a time and port of entry to present themselves at a selected time rather than making an irregular journey to the southwest border. And so once you download this app, you can submit your information in advance to CBP and schedule your time. And again, we're offering 1,450 appointments per day that are available at 8 different ports of entry across the southwest border. And so once you are able to successfully submit your information and can confirm your appointment, you have up to 21 days to reach your appointment and at your scheduled time that was made through the application.
Thank you so much for that. So on the CBP1 question, it is what to do when the person cannot get an appointment from the US-Mexico border on CBP1 since January.
Appreciate that question. And speaking in general terms without knowing the specifics of this case here, what we have seen in issues in the past where individuals are seeking to create new profiles and new registrations each day that they are making an attempt, rather than continuing with the profile that they have set in place. Because one of the ways that we do process appointments is, of course, how long somebody has been in the queue waiting for an appointment. And the only way we can tell that is if somebody is using that same profile that shows that they have been actually waiting, right? When you create a new registration and a new profile each time, that does mean that is essentially resetting your place in line there. So without knowing the specifics of this case, that is something generally that we have seen. But of course, if there are other specific questions about that specifically, feel free, Gerline, to pass that along.
Absolutely, and thank you so much to that. And we want the community to know that we are in constant communication with the Department of Homeland Security to make sure they answer the questions that we have. And as we continue to monitor CBP1, the CHNV parole program, the family unification program, we want you to continue to raise your concerns so that we can in turn make sure that we get the answers from you directly from the source, directly from DHS, USCIS, and the various departments within those who are in charge of immigration. Next question on CBP1 is what to do in a situation where the email used for CBP1 application is lost. So what we are seeing a lot of times since January is that somebody might be using a person's device or phone, and that person received their appointment and they have been able to enter the United States. Now you have people who are left behind without way to access that email or that profile. What to do in a situation where the email used for the CBP1 application is lost for one reason or another?
Sure. So on this specific instance, if an individual, for example, does not have access to that same device, right? An individual can, if they do remember their email login and password, they can use that to log in from a different device. So that is one option, depending on how much information you still have to access that account. However, if an individual does have a confirmed appointment that was scheduled at a port of entry to present, then the individual can still present at that designated port of entry at that designated time, because CBP does have that information on file, even if the individual does not necessarily have the email or the device to show them when they arrive to present. We can still pull that up at the port of entry.
Thank you so much for that. On the CBP part. So now let's quickly go into HFRP, which is the Haitian Family Unification Program. Quick basic questions. Who is eligible for the Family Unification Program? Maybe we can group a couple of questions and get answer to those. Who is eligible for the Family Reunification Program? What are the steps to apply for the Family Reunification Program? Do people with no payment yet on the visa processing eligible for family reunification? Maybe we can answer the first two and then we can go to that and the other one.
Sure, let me speak to those. So in terms of who is eligible, I think the first important thing to know is that this process is by invitation only. So you're only eligible to start the application process if you have received an invitation. Those who may receive an invitation are from the eligible pool of individuals. And as I mentioned earlier, it's those who are beneficiaries on approved I-130s, so a family-based immigration petition that has already been approved. It's for people who they don't have visa availability yet. So they have an approved I-130, but they are waiting for their visa to become available. And so the point of this program is to allow families to reunify in the United States while they wait for that visa to become available so that they can adjust to become a lawful permanent resident. So that's kind of the goal of this process. In terms of, again, just speaking to who is eligible, you know, it is beneficiaries on approved I-130s and their spouses and children. So let me stop there on eligibility. Does that answer that piece of it?
Yes. Can you give a little bit more information, because people seem to believe that it could be anyone be able to apply to participate in the family unification program. Can you please reinstate who are eligible and the relationship? What does that relationship consist of?
Yeah, sure. And let me step into the process just a little bit, because I think the process is really relevant to who is eligible, because I want to go back to this invitation piece. So the very first step in this whole process, and the only way that anybody is eligible to apply, is after receiving an invitation. So the Department of State's National Visa Center will email an invitation to be part of this process to the I-130 petitioner. So to the US-based either lawful permanent resident or US citizen who filed the I-130 petition. So the invitation will go to the US person, it's the petitioner on the I-130, and that invitation will come in to the email address on record for that approved form I-130. If there's no email address on record, we will physically mail the invitation to the petitioner's mailing address on record. So with that, I will say it is very important that the petitioner, the person in the United States, keeps their mailing address and current contact information up to date with the Department of State's National Visa Center. So in terms of who's eligible, you shouldn't just come to the USCIS website and apply for this family reunification process, because unless you've received an invitation and have an invitation number to put into the application will be rejected. So in terms of who can then apply, again, the process is started by that US-based petitioner, and they need to file a separate I-134A for everybody in the family who they're going to apply for. So again, it's the beneficiaries who are listed on the I-130 and their immediate family members, their spouse and their children who are under 21. So each person needs their own application, but those are the people who are eligible. They're the beneficiaries as well as the beneficiaries' spouse or children.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking at the time, and I want to check in with yours, Catherine and Daniel. We only have about 5 minutes left, but I don't know if you might be able to stay a tiny bit longer to answer some of those questions that we are seeing coming. And we also want to let folks know that some of the questions that are being answered live via text. So if you have sent a question on the Q&A, please check, because our guests are great and they are answering as many questions as possible via text as well. We will capture those questions and we'll add them to the form and be able to review and re-answer for you all. Again, thank you so much for your patience and for your understanding. And this is one of many engagement that will be between the community and DHS to hopefully, get rid of the misunderstanding, the false information, the scams, and all of those we are dealing with on a daily basis. So let's go a couple of questions before we stop and see how much time we have. I know this might not be something that you can answer right now, but we are getting a lot of questions about folks who have applied for fiancé visas, and the difference in what to do between waiting for fiancé visa, the family unification program, program by the parole program, CHNV. What advice do you have for people whose fiancé visa or other travel visas have been approved, but the process is being held up because they cannot get an interview with the U.S. Embassy in Port-au-Prince, understanding everything that's happening in the country right now. Can they try to get an appointment in another country, such as the Dominican Republic? Understanding you might not be able to give an answer to that, but really wanted to highlight this is something we see happening within the community literally every day.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Geraldine. And unfortunately, that most of that does fall within the Department of State's lane. So we are somewhat limited in how we can respond and what advice we could offer there. One thing I would say, though, to take into consideration, right, because all of those different processes and programs have different outcomes and, of course, have different benefits that accompany each one of them. For example, parole process, which is a temporary parole period for up to 2 years, is much different than an actual visa that can lead to a more permanent basis as far as a green card or other benefits that are associated with those. So that is something to take into account into each individual's decision, of course. But as far as looking for additional appointments or how that could work as far as waiting for visa interviews, that's something we can run back with the Department of State and hope to get some clarity on.
Thank you so much. And we have so many more questions for you all tonight, but I'm looking at the time. It is close to our end time of 7:15. But let's see if you have a couple of minutes that we can get a couple of more questions in. But for those people who are just joining, if we don't answer your questions right now, we will be following up with you to get you the information that is needed. One last question we are getting as well. Does the family reunification program stop someone with a pending residence application to continue getting regular correspondence on their case from USCIS? Understanding what needs to happen, right, once they start the family reunification program, once they receive that invitation.
If I'm understanding the question right, it's, if you're already in another process and then you start to enter the HFRP process, will that stop kind of the other process from going? And I think the answer is no. If you received the invitation for the family reunification parole process, that's a separate stream, and it shouldn't stop you from continuing to receive information about, any other process that you may be in, if I'm understanding the question accurately.
If that's not the right answer, I'm sure the person will reach back out and request clarification. But as we are looking at the time, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining. Again, we understand we have more questions than we can answer right now, but we will follow up with you all on that. Also, they are answered to many of the questions that have been asked on the Q&A. Please check on that to see if your questions have been answered. Please stay in touch with the Haitian Bridge Alliance as we continue to really find the right way to get the information to the community and really work with DHS, different departments, to make sure that that we hold everyone accountable. So we want the community to understand that we are working on your behalf to represent and really being a good steward for of your trust in us and our partners as we continue to fight for you, whether it is at the border, in the US, throughout your asylum process with TPS, or what's happening in Haiti right now, to make sure that you're able to get participate in programs such as the family reunification program, the CHNV program. But we also want to take that moment to say thank you to the Biden administration, to Secretary Mayorkas and the entire DHS team for listening, for agreeing, for really getting allowing us to fight you to really represent the communities that we are grateful to serve and get the little wins that we have been able to do. So we want to tell you, Royce, Catherine, and Daniel, we are grateful for your partnership. We are grateful for your service. And we really want to thank President Biden and the entire administration, especially Secretary Mayorkas, for working on those very crucial pieces on immigration and getting TPS, humanitarian parole, as we're moving forward into a more equitable, a more way to welcome people with dignity, with compassion, with love, and with respect.
Thank you, Guerlaine. Thank you for your kind words, and we will certainly pass them along to the Secretary and to the USCIS Director. You know, we're happy to be here. We're grateful to the work of the Haitian Bridge Alliance and the many organizations and individuals represented on this call for the all the help getting good information out to the community, for helping address rumors and raising questions to us so that we can help get the best information out. I'm sorry that we weren't able to answer all of the questions today, but we're happy to work with you on the follow-up if you'd like to capture what's in the Q&A and you know, any other outstanding questions. We're happy to work with you to get the information back to folks.
Thank you so much. Do you have a few minutes or you have to go right now?
We probably have just a minute or two, but unfortunately we are short of time.
Okay, we really understand and we are so grateful for your time. One quick question from our dear sister, Eugenia Charles in DC. She says that my brother filed his green card renewal application since August 2021. Why is it taking so long to get a new green card? Per his online account on USCIS, everything is fine.
I think it's probably hard for us to answer case-specific questions, unfortunately. Catherine, I don't know if you have more to say there, you know, in general, but I think it's going to be difficult without looking into a specific case to address what any delays may be.
I think that's right. And we certainly do have, you know, pending caseloads for pretty much all of our benefit types. So some delay, I don't know, again, we don't know what the specifics are of this case, but, you know, some waiting time is to be anticipated. Without knowing more about the specifics, I think it would be difficult to answer.
Thank you so much again, Royce, Catherine, Danielle, for your time, for being here with us. We really appreciate it. And we will continue engagement. We understand in order for us to make sure we address the misinformation, and this type of engagement is necessary. And we do hope that we will continue to be able to have you on to speak to the communities that we are privileged to serve. Again, if you just joined, we want to say thank you so much for joining us for this very important and critical community engagement, the town hall, the webinar. Thank you for each and everyone who have submitted questions. If your questions have not been answered, we will follow up with you. Mes amis, nous pral follow up avec nous, porti patience pour nous. We really will follow up with you. Please be patient with us as we continue to get the information for you. Again, it was a privilege for me to moderate this conversation. My name is Guerlaine Joseph. I am your servant, co-founder, executive director of the Haitian Bridge Alliance, the Black Immigrants Bell Fund, and the Cameroon Advocacy Network. And as we say here at the Haitian Bridge Alliance, un pile main chay palou, many hands lighten the load, and we are looking forward to continue this journey with you. Thank you so much for joining. Again, thank you so much for Royce, Daniel, and Catherine, who are coming to you directly from the Department of Homeland Security, who are dealing with immigration within the US government. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. Merci un peu tout le monde.
Thanks, Guerlaine.
Thank you all.
Thank you.